Oh, hello there. Yes, looks like it's going to be a damp week. We'll see. Now, over about the last week or so, there's been a bit of a hoo-ha in the British press, sort of pointing fingers and tut-tutting at the Americans because of their patently silly conversation that they have about the history of slavery in America. I mean, in particular, there was Ron DeSantis's Florida guidelines suggesting that schools should teach that black people in the states benefited in various ways from slavery, which people on this side of the pond regard as patently laughable. But the problem with this is that we have our own version of this patently laughable version of slavery in our colonial past. Let's look at this particular exchange on GB News between your friend and someone else's, Rafe. Let's have a look.
But Narinder Kaur says that colonisation was never a good thing. So, good morning. Very nice to see you both. But Rafe, you are a child of empire, and my friend, I mean, you're from Kenyan Indian descent, and you think you're proud of that, and you think that was a good thing.
Absolutely. I mean, look, we have to speak facts here. Colonialism and capitalism together lifted more people out of poverty in the world than any other two forms that we have here. Wherever you go in the world, particularly British colonialism, every region of the world, the most successful, the most democratic, and usually the richest countries are those that have a former colonial British inheritance. That applies to the Americas, South America, Africa, Asia, and elsewhere. And there's a reason that Canada, Australia, and New Zealand always rank amongst the 10 best countries in which to live, and that's because of their colonial inheritance. You know, the army, the military, schools, universities, hospitals, the infrastructure of government, the civil service, all of that is due to the British inheritance. And you know, if you look around the world, it's impossible to say that the countries of Africa and Asia and elsewhere would have had the evolution towards democratic legislatures and stable countries were it not for colonialization.
Well, it's
Yes, indeed. I do like the particular line about capitalism and colonialism raising people out of poverty. If you actually look at those two words and look up a simple one-sentence definition of both of them, the word exploitation comes up. So the notion that people are somehow exploited to their benefit is really intriguing one that Rafe manages, obviously. But his basic concept there is, of course, is that Britain exploited people less than others, which is a kind of weird historical view whereby certain bad things aren't as bad as other bad things and therefore magically become good. Am I right about that? Yeah. If the Soviet Union killed fewer Poles, were they therefore nicer to the Poles during the Second World War than the Nazis were? Not really. It's not the way it works, is it? Yes, indeed. Anyway, yeah, good old Rafe. Yes, a man who's, if you actually look at the comments beneath that GB video, you'll see the woman pointing out that he might not be exactly right, gets the usual extreme racism and indeed heavy dash of sexism thrown into it. So I would feel quite happily at pointing out that Rafe, despite the fact that he loves to use the concept that he's a historian and facts, I think what we need to do is point out that actually he's only ever published one book, which is A Guide to London. I imagine it doesn't have Brick Lane in there, because although Rafe is very keen on the legacy of the British Empire, he's not very keen when he has to go out the door and see it, which, for a man from his background, is a level of irony that goes way beyond anything that I could possibly find hilarious. Anyway, yeah. I don't know where they get these people from, and I don't know why we have to put up with this kind of really bizarre notion of the past. I guess Rafe would argue, as a historian, that it's all about the facts. Yeah, anyway, have a lovely week.